Well, hello there. Welcome to the Dynamics video series. We are now doing Dynamics Foundations video number 2. In Dynamics Foundations video number 1, we identified that there are fundamental principles and there are concepts. We got to the point where there's going to be a foundations exam, and we want to know what should we be able to do in a foundations exam. And there are really just a handful of things. One of the expectations is that we can define concepts. So remember now, these are our concepts. What does define mean? Well, define means to be able to give a word description write an equation if applicable, so for example, kinetic energy. The equation would be kinetic energy equals 1/2 m, running out of space there, v squared. We should know the units in both metric and standard, also known as English engineering. And we should be able to draw a simple sketch that somehow shows what kinetic, in this case, kinetic energy is. So that's what we mean by define. So the first question you want to ask yourself as you prepare for the foundations exam is, can I define each of these things using words, an equation, units, and a simple sketch? If you can, from your past learning, great. If you can't, then I would suggest some resources. The first resource would be your physics book. That might be a good place to go and get this information. The second would be a Google search. Wikipedia would be a good place to pick up this little bit of information that we ask for with defines. If you want some instruction in this, then I recommend Khan Academy in their physics section. All right. In addition to define concepts, then what we're going to ask you to do is to be able to describe the fundamental principles. Now, the fundamental principles, that's this list of 5, in this case, 5 principles. And what does describe mean? Well, describe is the same as define. Which is this set of things. Plus, we want you to be able to look and see what might an engineering application of this principle be. Where might we see it in the world of engineering? And where do we see it in the real world around us? So for the principles, we go a step further. We go beyond define and talk about where might we see this. Again, some good resources as you prepare to be able to describe these 5 fundamental principles are the same: your physics book, a Google search, or the Khan Academy. And so when it comes to the foundations exam, I'm going to randomly have chosen some of these concepts and some of these fundamental principles and ask you to be able to define, and I will just say, write a word description, write an equation, list the units, draw a simple sketch, tell me what an engineering application is, or where is this in the real world around us. In addition to these two things on the foundations exam, we have a couple more, and that is to do some basic problems. And I will give you some example basic problems in upcoming foundations videos, but basic problems for each fundamental principle. So on your foundations exam, you'll see some kind of fill-in-the-blank type questions, or rather essay type questions for defines and describes, but then some problem type questions on the fundamental principles. As a part of that, we need to be really good as engineers at doing unit conversions. So don't be surprised if in the problems you're given units of centimeters for one distance and yards or feet for another distance, and there's this expectation that you can convert back and forth between these units. And finally, on the foundations exam, there will be some questions about our learning about learning video. So you watched the Learning About Learning video on Ulrich Boser's Learn Better. I'm going to ask you to look through your notes and be ready to answer a few questions about that. So that is the expectation